It's Cobra's partner in arms. Here's your look at the new Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified series. This is Destro. G.I. Joe is a highly skilled, on-demand special operations force of men and women from around the globe. These extraordinary talented heroes are selected for their elite abilities and tasked with defending the world from Cobra, a ruthless criminal organization bent on total domination. With wavering courage and steely determination, the brave members of G.I. Joe are prepared to seek out Cobra in any environment on the planet. From hostile jungles to ice-clad Arctic peaks, wherever there's trouble, G.I. Joe is there. Before we get a closer look at Destro, the first thing that we always do before we have a look at these figures is first figure out how tall these figures actually stand. While I'm calculating that out to you, the viewing audience, I'd also like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Hasbro, who took this time and just recently sent the first wave of G.I. Joes my way. It allowed me to cover off some of the ones that I missed out on, like Destro, for example, and Snake Eyes. If you're in the market of picking up any one of these, though, you should be able to easily now find the first wave of G.I. Joe Classified Series figures through various online sites and retail stores as well. According to my tape measure, you're looking at Destro standing 6.1 inches in height. Switching that to centimeters, however, you're then looking at the figure standing 15.7, a little over 15.5 centimeters tall. For some size comparisons, let's bring in some of the other Joes that we already had a look at. Let's straighten out the leg of Duke, get him going on there. We'll also bring in Scarlet, one of my personal favorites from this first wave so far. I'm really looking forward to having a look at Snake Eyes. That was a figure, the must-have, I think. Well, that's not fair. That's not fair. I was really looking forward to getting Destro in hand as well. And last but certainly not least, there's Roadblock. Roadblock is the tallest of the bunch. Destro is a little bit taller than Scarlet and Duke. You can see that they don't even share the same bodies, which is good, really. They all scale differently from one another. Destro, for example, is taller than the other two, the Duke and the Scarlet on either side of him, but still shorter, though, than Roadblock. And that's pretty cool, the way that they've done that. Having a look at Destro's accessories, when we first have a look at the suitcase that comes included with the figure. I love this thing. On one side, you've got the image of a Cobra, not painted, mind you, it's only done in black. And then on the other side, a similar designed Cobra logo, all painted in a very vibrant red. Perhaps this could be a case being owned by the Military Armaments Research Syndicate, or MARS, of course, that Destro is the founding member of. As you can see, it also does open up, containing some dollar bills there on the top there. And down below, there's a little keypad, a little computer inside, with another similar Cobra logo, though slightly smaller. The screen is interesting because it has almost like a beveled look to it. It's not completely flat. And the way that they've colored it with this glittered green paint, or I don't think it's actually a sticker, it looks like it's been painted in place. It does almost look like one of those old computer screens where you would expect black font, black numbers to start appearing. This does close, and he does hold it into his hand. Now, he does have, obviously, two hands, as most humans do. This hand and this hand. Now, either one of these hands actually do support also the other included weapons. But when you do get this in his hand, I do find that there's some difficulty. A lot of it really is just because of the dense plastic that they use. So usually what I end up having to do is pry the fingers away from the palm, and then quickly make quick motions to get the briefcase actually into his hand. And you can see he holds it perfectly fine. Really love the idea that he comes with a suitcase. Even if you're not planning on using it with Destro for displays, you most definitely use it down the road with maybe some of the other Cobra figures that we're eventually going to be getting. Putting that and leaving that in his hand for the time being, Destro does come also included with a gold pistol. It's a futuristic style of pistol, not to be confused with something you would see like more of a realistic designed weapon. Very neat the way that they've designed it. I've been trying to pinpoint where this could have been pulled from, as the other gun that we're going to be looking at does definitely have a fan nod to an earlier released G.I. Joe weapon, or Cobra weapon. But this one I'm actually drawing a bit of a blank to. I don't know if it's a brand new original designed firearm or if they have pulled it from the archives of the old G.I. Joe weapons, or in this case, Cobra weapons. Now you can either fit that into his hand, or, excuse me, Destro, I'll just move your arm for the time being. He does also have a holster located on the side of his leg. You just take the black gun, or the gold gun, and you just fit that into the holster, and he can display it like that. Now, speaking of black gun, however, he does also come included with this. Now, I looked at this and thought I've seen this weapon before, something from my own personal collection as a kid. This looks very close to the kind of firearms that came included with the Crimson Twins, Xamot and Tomax. Very cool the fact that we would get ourselves a more updated take on it, which is basically, it looks almost exactly like it, short for the fact it has the additional red that's along the top, little red details done on the side. But it's almost, again, a very accurate recreation of that original pistol, just slightly blown up, a little bit bigger in size. You can also fit that into Destro's hand, and again, you could use the gold gun as well if you wanted to. But I think for the purpose of displaying it, just simply because it's so classic in design, I'm probably going to be displaying the figure, probably with him holding the black gun in his hand, and then probably holding the briefcase in his other. Those are the accessories that come included with the figure. Let's go ahead and free the briefcase. We'll just put that to the side. I love this thing. This is one of my favorite things that have come included with the classified series G.I. Joes and Cobras. Sadly, though, Destro doesn't come with a file card, nor really does any of the Joes come included with file cards. So if you're interested in bios, for example, you won't unfortunately find it with the package that includes with these figures. So you sort of have to know a lot about Destro. I happen to know a fair bit about Destro, having grown up with G.I. Joes. He's the arms dealer, and of course the founding member of Mars, which we've already discussed before. As a larger scale Destro, I think he works really quite well. He has still all the markings that Destro would have, even from the figure to the appearance in the original Sunbow cartoon, right down to the fact that he's got that Cobra collar that has been carried over also to this figure as well. It's not as big as perhaps maybe how he appears in the cartoon, but it's definitely iconic for Destro, and I'm glad to see that he carried that over, along with his necklace, which is just a separate gold plastic necklace that he wears around his neck. If you want to do technically, I suppose you could take the head right off if you wanted to remove this, but I would ask the question, why? Why would you want to take that off? That's as iconic to Destro as, again, the collar that he wears on the top of his outfit here. Looking at the head sculpt, I think they've done really a great job on Destro. It's difficult with Destro because he obviously wears a metal mask. This is something that you want to be very kind of tread lightly on, because you don't want to put too much excessive details to it that it takes away from his face. They could have also put rivet points on the sides of his helmet, for example, but I don't think that would have worked for this particular figure, and instead they kind of kept it quite minimal, only relying on a few panel lines on the outside, just outlining the outside of his face, and of course running up the top of his head here. Of course, the eyes, we can have a look at those right now. Those are very nicely painted. They sort of look like they all are black, but yet when you look really closely at them, you can make out that there's pupils in there. They're small and hard to see, but they're in there. There's pupils to be had on Destro's face. Like the metallic silver that they went with for his face, it really does. It does deliver a solid-looking Destro, just the same as a Destro that I would have grown up with. He really turned out quite nicely here. Now, of course, his outfit has to still follow the same formula as the rest of Destro from classic characters before him. So like his full black outfit is pretty iconic, but they've added some additional detailing done to his shoulders, for example, and the front of his torso. He doesn't have any gold to him, unlike the Joes that we've seen before, various different shades of gold. However, he does have rocket-firing gauntlet, at least on this one arm. A nice little nod again to the old classic designed Destro. Love the fact that they've got that on there. This one doesn't have it, obviously, but it still is painted very well in a dark gunmetal silver. Then, of course, we get down to the area of his waist and the area of his holster. You want to be very careful be very careful when it comes to moving his legs forward and back. I know we're talking quickly about articulation on this guy already, but being that this is attached, as you can see here, the holster attaches via this strip of red plastic and attaches to his waist. His waist, the belt that they've used, is technically a separate piece, so it may go along for the ride. But you still want to be careful, though, when you are moving this back and forth, that you're not adding too much stress, as I'm already starting to do here. If you move that too far forward, you may start developing stress marks, and that's the last thing I certainly would want to have happen. Moving a little bit further down, he's got the more slightly darker gray on his knees, as well as the dark gray done in his boots as well, with, of course, peg holes on the undersides of Destro's feet. For the figure's articulation, let's go ahead and look at that right now. His head rotates all the way around. You want to be careful as you are rotating that you don't get it caught, as you can see, on the necklace. Just make sure that's out of the way for you. It essentially works on a hinge joint as well, so not only do you have the ball joint, the luxury of what a ball joint would afford you, but you can also move the head up and down as well as rocking it back and forth. For his upper torso, it's on a crunch, so you can move it up, you can move it down, or you can rotate it back and forth as well. It's interesting that he does have a peg joint here, as I think the other Joes had ball joints, if I'm not mistaken, as opposed to these crunch joints. In fact, even like bringing in Duke, well, Duke did actually technically have it as well, the crunch forward and back, so it must be something that carries over with all the figures. Going back to Destro, though, he does have the waist swivel, as I said, back and forth. His legs do split out. And you'll notice a couple of times when you do swivel or hinge the legs out that the legs want to drop themselves down. You can just fix that easily by just popping the leg back up, and it sits back in the socket section. They sort of have allotted for an extra little drop on that leg. The question is whether down the road we will be getting vehicles for these 6-inch Joes or Cobras, because certainly they do give you the option of being able to fold the legs up if you want to have, say, Destro in a seating position. He has a swivel on the 3/4 cut of the thigh, basically 3/4 of the way up the thighs. That cut swivel allows the leg to rotate all the way around. He has not only just a single hinge, but a double hinge on the knee. That's a nice touch there. And he does have articulation in the boots, not to mention as well, he has the articulation in the foot. You can rock those back and forth. And as I've already mentioned, he does have peg holes on the undersides of his feet. Destro doesn't have too much of the difficulty to stand. He stands, it seems, perfectly fine. Oh, one other thing, lastly, I want to talk about. He does also have, this always seems to be a piece of the figure's articulation that I always seem to forget. He does also have a cup joint as well, allowing just the arms just to kind of move outward a little bit more than what they would if you simply just relied on that peg hinge joint. And you can also move the arms a little bit more inward as well. Always seem to forget that. All in all, Destro is a nice looking figure. Destro was a figure, unfortunately, as a kid I never owned. I seem to have Cobra Commanders fine and good, but I never had Destro, and that was a bit disappointing. Now, of course, as an adult, I can enjoy a little bit more the fact that we are getting G.I. Joes back again. And with Destro, as well as all the other classified series G.I. we've gotten, we get all the benefits and all the nostalgia, I would say, that's wrapped up with these G.I. Joes. Instead of not being 3 3/4 inch, however, they're grown much, much bigger to a 6-inch size. Not the best news for Destro, I'm sad to report, as for the first wave of the new G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, we got ourselves 4 G.I. Joes to the one lone Cobra, Destro. That will, of course, be fixed as we get subsequent waves after the fact. I'm really looking forward to that new Cobra Commander that they've already shown images for. So for the time being, Destro sort of has to go into hiding until, of course, his numbers on the Cobra side start to beef up a bit before they can finally attack the G.I. Joe. As for Destro himself, a nice splendid release from Hasbro, giving us an upscaled presentation of the way that Destro first appeared in toy form and the original Sunbow G.I. Joe cartoon. I like that they haven't changed much and still had the mentality that if it wasn't broke, don't fix it. Destro was never broke in the first place. I'm glad to see that they didn't do anything to tweak his designs, right down to his silver shiny helmet. A nice touch is also the accessories that it comes included with. Perhaps that is a Mars briefcase. I would be willing to bet it is. But also a nice little fan nod by including that black blaster that he's currently wielding in his hand. If no doubt, that was definitely a recreation of the similar blaster wielded by the Crimson Twins. So it's nice to see he gets that included for his accessory. He comes a couple of firearms, but when it's all said and done, I think I'm probably going to be displaying the arms dealer for Cobra with the said black blaster and his briefcase in his other hand. Again, a big thank you to the folks over at Hasbro who took the time not only to send Destro, but the entire wave of the first wave of the G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, which again, if you're in the market of picking up, you should be able to find through various online and retail stores right now. If you are new to the channel and you're liking the content you're seeing so far, and hey, you dig G.I. Joe, you can be best friends. I love G.I. Joe myself. Consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below. Consider the idea of turning the bell notification on, and most definitely consider the idea of coming back to this channel Monday to Friday at 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. when that's when new videos will be coming here, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.